Hello, it's Nikki, and welcome to the podcast. I'm so glad so many of you are loving the interviews, and thank you so much for sharing, rating, and reviewing. I so appreciate it. Anyway, I wanted to continue the conversation of success. So often we hear the extremes, don't we? Of rags to riches, homeless to billionaire, sleeping on a random sofa to a blinged up palace. But what about the in-between bits? I know personally I have had many. How do you get from A to Z? But also, how do you get from A to B or F to M? In these mini episodes, I want to provide questions to ponder, ideas that might spark a brainstorm, or raise topics that might be a little bit uncomfortable in the moment, but they will support you to go to the next level of your business. As always, please come over to social media at Nicky Raby, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and breakthroughs. Okay, in this first episode, I want to talk about that feeling and that sensation of feeling stuck. I know this feeling very well. There have certainly been lots of times across my business journey and freelance life when I've had that moment of going, what am I doing? Wouldn't it be easier to retrain and become a prison officer or PE teacher or something that is so far out of my skill set? It really wouldn't be a good idea. But often as well, when I hear it from my clients, that sense of feeling stuck is their entry point to me. They've got to that point where maybe things are not moving quick enough, or maybe they're having struggles, sort of trusting that the hard work is going to pay off. And maybe they just keep getting that niggle that they need to change direction. And making that move to shake things up a little bit requires some bold moves. And you know that feeling when the bold moves need to come, but you're not quite sure if you're ready to make them yet. So I've been doing a little bit of brainstorming around this and collating some of the ideas that I use to help my clients move forward. So I just wanted to share 5 of these points with you. Okay, so at the point of me recording this, number 1, I've recorded over 60 episodes with experts that hopefully you've got to know if you're a regular listener of the podcast. Some of these are very well known, some less so, and some very, very successful. In fact, most people are very, very successful. But do you know what the number 1 thing that people say to me, whether they say it live on the podcast or privately when we're recording, just before we record, they say, I have no idea what I'm doing. And it makes me smile every time because from the outside, it looks like that person has everything sorted, all their ducks in a row, and they really have nothing to worry about. So I just wanted to share that with you. And often as well, I feel like when we're in that stuck mode, we torture ourselves by going online or looking at things on TV or film or out and about and sort of looking in and thinking, oh, they've got it all sorted and I'm just sort of swimming around over here not having a clue. So I just wanted to reassure you in the first step that however successful, however wealthy, however sorted people appear to be, it's not the whole scenario. Behind the scenes, there may be self-doubt, there may be overwhelm, there may be an imbalance in their business and life. You just don't know. So always remember that and always focus on you and your own progress. All right, number 2. This is a phrase that I keep coming back to, which is new level, new devil. It's not my phrase. I can't claim it, but I love it and I use it all the time. And as I'm recording this, I'm celebrating some key moments in my life. The first being Matt and I are about to celebrate our 11th year anniversary together, which is exciting and feels very grown up in the next sort of phase of our relationship. I'm also celebrating 5 years as a qualified coach. So again, it feels like that's a shift and a new phase of the business. Also as well, I'm about to turn 37 later this year, and I'm at that midway point of my life that I've had 18 years living at home with my mum and dad in a small village in Lincolnshire, and 18 years in London figuring this out and really sort of following my dream, as it were. And it is a very sort of crucial moment of seeing how far I've come and seeing also where I want to go and maybe what's not been happening or where I want to go. And the thing that I've noticed is that even though sometimes I do have days where I'm unsure or I'm not trusting the process or I'm not quite clear on the vital pieces that I sort of need to be having in place, you know, those days where you have a wobble. And basically what I've started to do is look back on that past version of myself, you know, the 5 year ago version of me who was figuring it out, starting a new business. I really had no idea what I was doing. I knew I was a great coach. I knew I could really help people. But in terms of making that a business, I just really was kind of blindly wandering around, hoping that I would figure it out along the way. So if that's you, you will figure it out. And I think it is that sense of new level, new devil, that there will be always new challenges and new things to come along. But I do want you to know how far you've come and how many obstacles already you've overcome. And I guess this is the nature of business and creative life. We're always going to face these things. We're always going to pivot or change shape or restructure. And that's okay. And our bounce back rate will become quicker as a result of that. All right, number 3, it's about regrouping. If you're feeling that sort of sense of feeling stuck or emotional or a little bit out of sorts, I want you to give yourself permission to do what it is that you need to do and go back to your vision. So it could be take some time off, close down your laptop, go and do something fun, go and have a bottle of wine with a friend and have some time away from your business. It might be putting some new boundaries in place. I know sometimes when we get busy and overwhelmed, maybe we're in that survival mode of fighting fires and not necessarily doing business in a way that we want to. So maybe you've let things pile up. Maybe you've let sort of people not walk all over you, but perhaps treat you in a way that you're not really that comfortable with. Maybe you said yes more than you should have said no, or no rather than yes. Whatever it is, put some boundaries in place and do whatever it is that you need to do. Also, as well, you may need to let go of some commitments. Maybe there are areas in your business that you're just not feeling anymore. You feel like maybe you've outgrown it, or you've just moved past it, or it's just not lighting you up. So it's time to make some changes. And I think I always have to go back to that sense of permission. It's a word that comes up all the time with my clients. So often it can be tricky to admit what we want and admit to ourselves that we are worthy of those things. So give yourself permission to give yourself what you need. Because especially if you are a one woman or a one man band, you need to look after yourself. And you're going to be the common denominator in your business. Okay, number 4, I want you to think about what's working well and why. So understand your process. So if things have been going really well in one area, I want you to reverse engineer that and figure out like, oh, what were the steps that I did, or what were the consistent things that have really brought me to this place? And I think something like the podcast, for me, the reason that it's grown so often is because there's a structure. There's something to fall back on. There's foundations in place. I know what I need to do, when I need to do it, and also my audience, you, lovely listener, thank you, gets to know as well. So I've had to really realize that for myself, that I'm going to get results if I work in that way. Also as well, think about maybe what does need work and what's holding you back. So it could be that trigger or that limiting belief that pops up to say hello every single time. It could be that old story that you tell yourself, and it's time to let it go. And if you can't let it go immediately, just bring your awareness up so you know that it's coming out to play and trying to sabotage you in your process. So with the positives and the negatives, I want you to check in with the evidence so you know what's real. So the things that are going really well, really focus on the stats or the feedback or the opportunities or how far you've come in the last 6 months, and really make a note of those and celebrate them. Equally with the limiting beliefs or the old stories or the habits or the patterns of behavior that just become part of your life without you really consciously realizing it, check in with those. There could be an old limiting belief that steps in your way every single time. And actually, it's not true. It's not a story that you know. It's something that somebody else once said to you. And step number 5 is to think about a plan going forward. Carve out some time, take an hour or a whole day, whatever time you have available, to start to really get clear on what is going on in your business. And as you're doing those exercises, try to turn off notifications or distractions or things that just might get in your way, and really commit that time to yourself. Also think about your mindset and your strategy working hand in hand. So when you're thinking about that mindset, you want to make sure that it's aligned with where you're going. So we can think positively all we like, but if you're not actually taking the action or telling people about your business, you're not going to get the results. Equally as well, if you're trying to sell something that you don't feel comfortable with, or you're just really not aligned with or enthusiastic about, it's going to be really tricky to move that forward. So once you get to a stage of knowing the actions that you need to take, make sure that you break those down into 2 lists. So there could be a strategy list in terms of create 3 pieces of content per week, whatever that might be. But then also write down your task list in terms of your mindset. So this could be exercise, or making sure that you drink enough water, or carving out some time to download some podcasts, or whatever it might be. Make sure the 2 of them are going hand in hand. And finally, I would say, make it easy for yourself. Business does not need to be hard. You can add some ease and flow into this. And if you feel like the topic or the task that you've written down is way too overwhelming, break it down even further into manageable bite-sized chunks and really understand what they mean to you. If you're writing something like create more opportunities, go into detail of what they look like for you. As I've mentioned before, I'm going to be speaking at Stylist Live in November. And when I wrote my goal list, maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago, I actually wrote the word Stylist Magazine on my goal sheet because I knew specifically I wanted to work with that magazine. So this stuff does work, I promise you. So hopefully this mini session has helped you to stop, consider, recalibrate and get some clarity on where you're going forward. If you want to check out my business goals course, feel free to do so. It's over on my website. Just go on the online courses and programs section. It may be really useful for you to work through a bit more of a method. It's 16 modules long, so it is chunky. You can work through it 1 to 16 or just dip in and out as and when you need it. So go and check it out. It might be something that will be useful and helpful for you going forward. That's it from me today. I will see you soon. Bye. Thank you so much for listening as always. If you do want to rate and review and subscribe over on iTunes or even share it with a friend, I would love it. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to find out more about me and how we can work together, please go to nickyraby.com or connect with me across social media at Nicky Raby. I'll see you soon. Bye.